So, have you or are you writing a book? If you are, congratulations. But before you start dreaming about being famous and your work being in bookstores around the world, you've got a couple more steps. So, today we'll talk about one of the most important parts of the writing process: editing. Hi, and welcome back to Hearth Talks. I'm Diane Hatz, author and interactivist, and this is the first in what will be an ongoing series about writing and publishing with a strong focus on being an indie author. Some people call it being self-published, but I hate that term, especially considering it takes a village to get your book out to the world, but more on that in a later video. I'm still continuing with the other videos on finding yourself, uncovering purpose, etc. It's just that writing is my form of creative expression, which is what I'm trying to help people sort of dig in and lose fear and to just jump in and do something they've always wanted to do. So mine has been writing. So I thought for those of you who've wanted to write a book that I would do a little series to try to share tips that I learned along the way because I did a lot wrong. Shed many tears, but now this is my third book. It's getting easier. So first, producing a draft, it's not finishing a book. Writing is rewriting. I read that when I first started out and it's really stuck with me. It's easy. Well, it's the easiest part is getting the idea down and like getting it on paper. Then comes the hard work, the editing, the re-editing. Most first drafts are a mess, full of wrong tenses, undeveloped characters, scrambled scenes, pages of meaningless tangents, and on and on. If you saw my first draft, you would tell me to give up writing. Seriously. I have half thought out scenes, characters that don't know who they are, boring and monotonous dialogue. I just brain dump on my first draft, so it's a complete mess. The real work with writing a novel comes with the edits, the pulling apart and the putting the story back together so it flows and it interests the reader. And frankly, so it makes sense. As an aside, there are people who write a chapter or a scene and edit that over and over until it's done. Then they move on to the next chapter. It's perfectly fine if you write that way. You'll only know what you're better suited for once you really get into writing. The key is that you're going back over the work and you're editing it. I was on Goodreads when I first started out, trying to meet other authors and to find ways to get reviews for my books. If you don't know what it is, it's a place for readers to find books and for authors, especially indie authors, to find readers and to get reviews. They have groups where you'll read one person's book and then someone else will read yours in order to review it. And Amazon owns Goodreads and that's okay with them. So the books I got to read were just bad. Some of them had good stories, but it was obvious the work hadn't been edited enough. Very, very, very few people can finish a book in one draft. A lot of indie authors use Goodreads to promote their work, but I found it useless for my kind of writing. Actually, the only 2-star review, which is the lowest I've gotten, I got from there because the person didn't understand my books, and frankly, she was just nasty. So I now avoid the site. Like, I'll stick my book up there, but I'm not active on it. I hear Goodreads isn't as in as it used to be, but it can be good if you're like a young adult or romance writer, maybe some fantasy sci-fi, not mine, not social commentary, paranormal, urban, whatever my writing is. So back to editing. I digress, as I like to do. Take the time you need to edit your book properly. For my last book, The Light of Wounds, I did 16 edits. Yes, 16. The last couple honestly killed me, but that's how many the novel needed before it was done. And if you're wondering, how do you know when your book is done? With me, I just edit. And then on the 16th edit, this feeling just washed over me. And I just realized I'm done. This is the best I can do. I think it's different for everybody. Some people have to just hard stop it. You can continue editing a book for life. That's a type of procrastination. So there is a point where you have to just get it out there. Just make sure you do some edits before you do that. So there's a trend these days for indie writers to write and publish faster and faster. The logic is the more books that are out there, the more that the Amazon's algorithm will notice you and will boost all your books. If you don't know, over 80% of all books sold are sold through Amazon. It's something I'm not happy about, but it's reality. There's also incredible competition for readers these days. In 2023, 3 million books were indie published in the US alone. Traditional publishing adds another 500,000 to a million more. So quantity over quality seems to be a trend for indie writers these days, and frankly, it's not my thing. Rushing your work can hurt you. A first draft is not a completed manuscript for 99.99999% of the population. On the 12th edit of Fallen Spirits, my second book, I found an inconsistency that had to be fixed because a reader would have noticed it. Even a professional editor, I'd hired a professional editor for that. She missed it. The beta readers had missed it. I mean, it was so obvious when I realized it. And in this last book, Light of Wounds, same thing. Toward the last, maybe the 14th edit, I was like, oh, I got the machines. It's just zapping spirits from the sky, machines or whatever. I got them confused. What's your advantage to make sure your work has enough edits to get it as professional, as polished as possible? So there are different types of editors. Generally, there's two main. There's developmental and there's copy. Developmental editor will go through your entire draft and will give you feedback on structure, character development, and how the story is progressing. The copy editor looks at grammar, punctuation, spelling, that type of thing. So it does more of a technical read. You need both, though paying for each might be too expensive for many people. So what do you do if you can't afford an editor? You do have some options. I went through a phase where I believed that every book needed professional editing done. And nowadays you can pay for developmental, copy, sensitivity, line, and other edits. So it gets pricey. I sometimes think all I'm doing is funding people that work in the publishing industry, not supporting myself. But I am confident that will change at some point. Like I said, I paid for developmental and copy edits for Fallen Spirits, and the editor missed some major plot points. And with the copy edit, basically nothing was changed because I had done it all myself. And I had run it through some readers. So I'm now leery of paying for an editor unless I have the money to pay for a top tier one. I mean, I didn't get my money's worth for the couple thousand I paid. So what are some options if you can't afford an editor? Find a fantastic critique group. Join a writing group of other authors in your genre who write like you do and ask them to critique your work. I did this with my first book, Rock Gods and Messy Monsters. I spent over 2 years with 4 other people in a writing group going through my manuscript line by line. It was time consuming, but it worked. And I was pleasantly surprised when a reviewer from a publication for editors said that the book was well edited because I didn't use a professional editor. Thank you, New York City Writing Group. You can look for a group on meetup.com or post flyers in local coffee shops. You can find people online. Take your time to find the right people. It can make or break the quality of the feedback you get. It can also make or break, I don't want to say your ego, but it can be devastating if you have somebody who's harsh and who is just critical. You want to critique, you want help, but you don't want someone telling you suck, basically. And there are some people who don't know how to critique. So you can also make an arrangement with another author in your genre. Offer to edit their work if they'll go through yours. Be sure the writer has some editing skills though. So check their work, like make sure they have at least one book out. Check it to make sure it's on par with you and that it's, well done. You can do the same for proofreading, though with AI getting better every day, you can find some good grammar and spelling software to use instead of a human being. This isn't as easy as it might seem. Most authors are busy writing books, so most won't have the time or the energy to read someone else's work. But it's worth trying. If you can't find a group of other authors or one other author in your area, join an online writing group. Women in Publishing comes to mind. There are a lot of groups and associations for writers and authors. Search around and find one that resonates with you. So you can also use software. I use Pro Writing Aid, which is an online editing tool that helps with copy and line editing. You can buy it outright or pay for a monthly or yearly subscription. I'm doing an annual subscription because AI is getting so good that I'm not sure if the company will be as relevant next year. Grammarly is another option, but I had some issues with them, so I'm not really into them. But other people like them. If you go this route with using software, you just have to make sure other human eyes look at your work before it's published. And that would be alpha and beta readers. So alpha and beta readers, they're avid readers who'll read your book for free, though some are starting to charge. An alpha reader looks at your work when you're still in the early stages, so they help you with structure, character development, and the story overall. It's good if you're stuck, like if a character goes into a room and something has to happen at the end, you're not sure how to get from point A to, point C, you can ask an alpha reader to give you the B, like give you suggestions for the B part. And also just to see if things are consistent and make sense. So you want to find people, again, this is important, who read your genre of work. If you write sci-fi, find readers who read sci-fi. So if you find a couple of excellent readers, it can help you avoid using an editor, and it can reduce the overall cost of producing your book. I would suggest, if you're going to go that route, to make sure you are good at editing. You will have to do a lot of like intense, detailed work if you're not going to be hiring a top tier person. Pro tip, don't ask family or close friends. They want to please you. They probably aren't going to give you honest feedback. You can also look for a less seasoned editor who will charge less, but it's a big gamble because they might not be good. You don't know. But some top editors charge 5 cents a word or more. So if you have an 80,000 word manuscript, that's $4,000 just for the editing. And for a new writer, especially an indie writer, odds are you're not going to sell many books. It really takes 3 to 4, I think even 5 books now. Like, it takes a track record for like the Amazon algorithm to start recognizing you, for readers to start recognizing you. I'm on my 3rd book, so I'm hoping that by 4, someone will read me. No, I'm doing okay. So the bottom line, if you want to produce quality work, someone other than you needs to edit it and give you feedback, period. But it doesn't have to be a professional editor. And I know that's blasphemy in the writing world, but I don't care, because I did it with Rock Gods and I got a great review from an editor publication. And there's reality. Not everyone has thousands of dollars that they can pay on editing. There's enough you're going to have to pay to get reviews, to do promo stacks, which don't worry about right now. But it's just every time you turn around, it's more money you pay out. So be realistic about where you're at. I also suggest to everyone, if you can, try to get a piggy bank, literally or figuratively, but put money aside. So save while you're writing. Just start saving a few dollars a week so you can have a little budget, because you really are going to need some money if you want to try to get your book out there. Though I got to tell you, I won't tell you how much I spent on the first book marketing it, thousands of dollars. And I looked at it as, I'm not getting a degree. It was less than a year at a university. Let's put it that way. But I spent a lot of money and shed a lot of tears, and there is a learning curve. This is a reality. But, if you want to write, you'll be willing to do it. And it is learning something new. There's a joy just in that. I think what I'm focused on now this year is doing the best I can, putting my work out there, marketing it, but then just letting it go. What happens, happens. I also, because I'm writing a series, I've said I will do like serious promotion when the series is done, which hopefully is book 4. I think I can wrap everything up in one book. So back to the editing. Don't skip the editing step. That's my final thought for the day. So what do you think? How do you handle editing? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you found this helpful, like, subscribe. Oh, you know what I forgot? If you're still here, The Light of Wounds is coming out March 27th, 2025. And my publishing company, Whole Healthy Group, is our sponsor. And I've also got Fallen Spirits, Rock Gods and Messy Monsters. Rock Gods and Messy Monsters will be going on sale soon. This is early April 2025. Keep writing, and I'd love to hear what you're doing. Share with me if you've got something that you're working on. Okay, thank you. Have a great day. Thank you.